Welcome to another 3 in 30 presented by CTEL. I'm very pleased to be here today with Matt, and we are happy to chat with you about Deskside Manner. First, we're going to get into a little bit, talk very briefly about what 3 in 30 is. So it's a series of webinar-style drop-in sessions exploring a wide variety of topics related to teaching and learning at Georgian. They're all 30-minute sessions and will include some tangible takeaways for application. And today we're going to be talking about the foundational concept of Deskside Manner and cultivating a climate for learning with Blackboard. So we wanted to talk specifically about using Blackboard as a tool since most of us are teaching exclusively remotely right now. There are a few folks who are teaching on campus in clinics and labs, etc. But Blackboard is obviously our main means of communication with our students right now. So it's important for us to consider the idea that in our face-to-face classes, we typically have the opportunity to make a great first impression with our students on the first day when they enter the class and, greet them with a smile, ask them how their term has been, ask them to make name tags, all those little things that we do to help students feel welcome and seen, heard, and appreciated in our classes. So we have similar opportunities, obviously not the same kind of organic opportunities in remote and online learning environments, but we do have similar opportunities to make a good first impression and also to run our classrooms in a way that our students feel appreciated and understood and feel like we're really there to help support them and their learning journey. We've talked in previous sessions about kind of the importance of bedside manner in the medical field and how that can really go a long way to make people feel appreciated and to make people feel safe and comfortable. And we have the opportunity to do a similar thing in our remote and online learning classes with Deskside Manner. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what that is. Okay, so the first takeaway is setting the stage with first impressions. So in a remote setting, our students' first impression of us depends on what information is easily available to them in our LMS, which our LMS is Blackboard. So there's a few different things to consider. The first one is to consider a pre-course contact video. So this is something that could be completed before the term starts. This was a concept that was foreign to me until it was introduced by Michelle Pacansky-Brock, who's one of the champions of humanizing. I was always like a person who went in and opened the class at 9 a.m. on the first day of the term because that's what felt like the right thing to do. However, there aren't any rules that say that we can't reach out to our students in advance and allow them the opportunity to get to know us a little bit and invite them to share a little bit about themselves as well. So this hyperlink here, which will be shared wherever we're sharing this, which will be shared and can be accessed in this presentation, is a link to a sample pre-course contact video. So basically it's just forward-facing, like using your cell phone and taking a video that says, hello, I'm going to be instructor this term. This is what the course is, and this is why I'm excited about teaching this particular course. These are some of my goals for the term as an instructor, and these are some of the things that I hope we can kind of work through together as a team. And then maybe asking students to share something about themselves, whether it's creating a Microsoft form that students can access along with the email within which this video would be shared. So essentially what you would do is contact your students 5 to 7 days before the start of term. That's a high opportunity zone for contact. And you could send out an email through Blackboard, which we're going to talk about in a minute, how to do that. And within that email, it would be a link to this pre-course contact video, which the recommendation would be to host it somewhere else like YouTube. And then anyone can access it even if they don't have access to Blackboard now. And then you could also provide a link to something like a Microsoft form, or even just say, respond to this email and let me know one thing about you, or tell me one thing that you're nervous about for this term, or something that you're excited about, or what you think really makes a remote learning class fantastic. The other recommendation is to put a lot of time and effort into considering your faculty bio. So there is a link to some samples provided here as well for some sample faculty bios. There's some studies that suggest that including a faculty picture, so like a headshot of some sort of yourself or a photo of you in your natural environment can increase student success by up to 10%. And this is basically just because students feel accountable and responsible to a real person rather than just a name and kind of this enigmatic person who exists somewhere out in the world. So including your bio and anything that you're comfortable sharing. So it could be a little bit about your educational background, your teaching experience. You could include hobbies that tell your students a little bit about who you are outside of the college. And the third kind of main opportunity for first impression is your first announcement. This will be sent out as an email because that's a default in Blackboard. When you send an announcement, it gets pushed out as an email as well. And will also be probably the first thing that your students see, as most courses push our students into the announcement sections in Blackboard when they enter into our class. So the first announcement, there's a number of things, different things that you can include. The recommendation from kind of a humanizing and desk-side manner perspective would be to include information again about you. It may refer students to the pre-course contact video, which can also be embedded into Blackboard, maybe in your bio section or in the week 1 content. A link to your faculty bio page, and then information about where to start. So what are the expectations for your students in the first week? Are there any tasks that they need to complete? Should they take some time to familiarize themselves with where everything is located in Blackboard? They may be asked to download a copy of the course outline and the syllabus so that they have a copy of it for their reference later, even if their internet connection is down or they're unable to access the course for whatever reason. So again, it's basically just think about all the things that you would say to your students in the first class, in a face-to-face class, and all the information that you would share and how you would kind of help acclimatize them to your shared learning space. And then be sure to include that in the first announcement as well. Another thing that's a nice option is including a little video in your first announcement. So you may want to do a screencasted video, or again, just a forward-facing video officially welcoming students to the class. And then again, you can refer them to the various different sections of Blackboard that you'd like them to take a look at. So essentially, takeaway number 1 in Deskside Manner is setting the stage with first impressions. Okay, takeaway number 2 is being visible, accessible, welcoming, and supportive. So setting the stage with a great first impression is the first step, and then continuing that kind of that tone and the vibe of I'm here for you, I am here to support you, your learning and your success in this course is important to me. That can kind of be carried throughout the course by visibility. There's a number of different ways that we can be visible in our course. So one is we can be actually physically visible, and you can post videos of yourself. So again, you can do things like bumper videos where you're saying, hey guys, just wanted to give you a brief 2-minute overview of what to expect this week. Remember that you have an assignment that's due Friday at 5 p.m. Remember that in order to complete that assignment effectively, you need to read all of the content from weeks 2, 3, and 4. It could be something that says, things are changing with regards to COVID right now. So just wanted to give you an update on what this means for our class. Little video snippets that you can kind of include throughout the term are certainly encouraged, as that's just another way that we can, again, be visible in our class. Being accessible kind of piggybacks on this. One of the major student complaints in remote and online learning classes is when instructors are inaccessible, or when it feels like it's kind of a plug and play scenario where an instructor takes some good time to design a course and then basically just throws it into Blackboard and says, see you when you need to have assignments marked. It's really important for students to still feel like their instructors are accessible to them and that they can reach out when they have questions. So some of the ways that we can be accessible in a healthy way is to be very clear with our students in the first few weeks of the class about boundaries for communication and kind of what your work-life balance looks like. So communicating things like, these are the hours that I'm typically online during the day. Everyone has different schedules right now based on whatever's going on at home for you. So some folks may be working 8 to 3, 9 to 4 or 5. Some people may be saying, I have little ones who are home during the day, and so I start my work day typically around 2 when someone has a nap, and then I work until 8 or 9 at night. So whatever your hours are, it's good to communicate that with your students so that they know when they can expect to reach you. Also sharing information about your office hours. So it's recommended that we offer office hours at least every other week synchronously, whether you're teaching an asynchronous course or not. And then putting some kind of structure and guidance around office hours. So typically what we would say in our face-to-face classes is, office hours are a great time to stop by and ask a question. It's a good opportunity to come and get clarification. You can come and chat about a grade or wanting some more feedback on something. So providing students with information about what can be done in office hours and how it works. Even providing information about saying, like, we can lock the room once you're inside. So if you have something sensitive to discuss, like if you're struggling or you need a referral or you want some help finding some student services that are available around campus, letting students know that it's not just this vacuous open space where anyone can pop in and out, and letting them know that if they have something private or sensitive that they'd like to talk to you about, that it's possible to lock the room and that no other students will come in. That can be really helpful as well. So again, just kind of providing some parameters around, here's all the things that can happen during office hours. Here's what it looks like. And here's how you access that link to come and see me. Being welcoming and supportive is a little bit more difficult to quantify, but it is a huge part of Deskside Manner. So it's basically just considering tone and the way that we word our messages. It can be tempting sometimes if someone emails you a question or asks a question in a discussion board that may seem a bit redundant, something that can be found in 15 different places. So when is this assignment due? My guess would be that you probably have it listed in the calendar, in the syllabus, and the schedule, in the assignments section, in the grade center, and you'd have it listed in multiple places in the course. So it can be tempting to say, go look in Blackboard, and it's easy to find it anywhere there. But being welcoming and supportive is understanding that sometimes students are brand new to Blackboard. Sometimes they have other things going on in their life that may prevent them from accessing that information, even though it's there for them. So being welcoming and supportive may be something as simple as saying, hey, the assignment's due on this date. How are you doing? Is there anything else that you need help with? How are you finding the course? And have you been able to access other things in Blackboard? And maybe even an invitation to say, I have office hours tomorrow from 1 to 3. So if you want to, you can pop in and we can screen share and I can walk you through where to find it in the future. So basically just providing that extra layer of support. As I said, tough to quantify, but just kind of being there for our students in any way that we can is wonderful. Again, sometimes it's about what you say and sometimes it's about what you don't say. So we have to be mindful of both. So for example, good desk side manner, a good practice of that would be asking students if they have a preferred pronoun, or maybe demonstrating that you're respectful and open to that idea by including it in your own email signature. You may ask students at the beginning of the term in the form of a Microsoft form, or just asking them to email you if they have a name that they prefer to be called that's not the name that they're registered in Blackboard with, if they have a preferred pronoun, anything about kind of them personally that they think is important for you to know. So sometimes not saying things about that. So just going in and just starting to address students based on the name that's on the register or on the Blackboard shell. Is something that we don't say because we're just addressing whatever name is there, but it may be really helpful just to say to them, if you have a name that you prefer to be called, please let me know. So that's an important one to consider as well. Open lines of communication and taking advantage of opportunities to connect is key. I talked about this a little bit already with regards to making sure that students know that you're there for them within kind of a reasonable context and time frame. Providing more opportunities for connection, so things like Flipgrid, finding shared spaces where you can interact with students, so whether that's in WebEx, it could be shared spaces where people are accessing things asynchronously, so it could be a shared Word document, a shared PowerPoint deck, it could be a Google Doc, it could be Poll Everywhere. So creating opportunities for you and your students to interact in a way that's comfortable for you and that aligns with your schedule and your students' schedules. And then impromptu communication is always great too. So in order to ensure that your students feel seen, heard, appreciated, supported, a good practice may be, I'm sitting at my desk right now doing some marking and someone emails me and says, I'm having a really tough time understanding this next assignment, and I'd really like to meet with you at some point. It may be as easy as saying, I'm going to pop into my WebEx room right now and I'll just continue marking for the next hour with it open. If you want to come in at any point, feel free to drop in. So that kind of impromptu communication, even though it's not a scheduled time that you would typically be on, if you're already at your desk and can turn your WebEx on, that's just another point of contact for your students and another way that you can demonstrate support. And then I will pass it over to Matt to talk about the email tool.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. Yeah. So sending emails in Blackboard is definitely a great tool. Something I do want to mention before we get started when it comes to that email function is there is no actual inbox located within Blackboard. So just keep that in mind that when you are communicating with your students, really it is a initial communication. So if Kim was the student in my course, I could send that email out to Kim, but then once Kim decides to respond, that response would be located in your actual Georgian College employee email, so your Outlook itself. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen here, and I'm just going to go into one of our Blackboard shells here, and you're just going to see an example of me trying to send out an email. So if I wanted to go to our course tools option, which is located along the left-hand side here, under our course management area, when we click on that, we can scroll on down and we're going to find that send email function. When we click on that, we have a wide variety of different options. So we can select individuals, we can select all of our users, we can email different groups. Sometimes I normally find the single/select users the easiest one if you are just planning on communicating with one or a few students. As you can see here, it will put yourself, so I'm in here twice in here, one for one account and one for another. But then I also have my colleagues Steve and Kate also enrolled in here, and they're both enrolled in this course as students. So if I wanted to email Steve, what I would do is I would hover over Steve's name, and then I would just click that little over arrow. And what that's doing is it's saying I'm bringing Steve from the enrolled course, so this would show all of your enrolled students. I'm bringing his name over to our selected column, and we're only going to be emailing Steve. Now, if I wanted to, I could bring Kate's name over. Maybe I decide I don't want to, and I can just bring it back. You can really customize who you want to connect with in that sense. Now, again, you would see where it's from. It's always going to send from your Georgian College employee email address. So just keep that in mind that you can't change it to a personal one. The students might ask you, I want to receive these emails to my personal, my Hotmail, my Gmail, whatever it might be. Unfortunately, we can't do that. That communication should be through that Georgian College student email from your employee email. Now, what we're just going to type in here, let's just say hello. Maybe that's what our subject is going to be. And then again, you can type whatever you wish into your actual email message there. The options that are presented here, the same toolbar editing options that are presented when you're creating an announcement, an item, anything along those lines where you are creating content. You can embed things, you can change the font, you can change the color, you can do really a lot of the same options that you can do within Outlook if that is what you're using. Just know that you can select that a copy will be sent to you. So just so you know that that copy will be sent into your sent folder. So at least you have record of that initial reach out when you're looking back at your correspondence. And then what we do after that is we just click submit. I'm not going to send that because it will actually send an email to Steve, but just so you're aware, you just click submit and then that would automatically send, all right? So that is definitely a really neat function. And again, you can email all users, you can email different groups. So this would go to everybody enrolled in the course. It doesn't allow you to break it out. But a great thing about this email function is if you are in the grade center and you are grading something and you're like, you know what, I really need to connect with Kate because I feel like Kate in this case, obviously as an example, might need to be doing a little bit better moving forward. So we want to definitely support Kate. So let's set some time to meet via WebEx. And I can send that email right from Blackboard. I don't have to go out and find Kate's email. I don't have to go source a contact information, whether it's from your academic area or from Banner, whatever that might be. I can just do that directly right here from Blackboard. So it's definitely a neat tool that not a lot of people know about. But once you know about it, you'll definitely use it all the time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop sharing here and we're going to talk about our takeaway number 3. So I'll get Kim to reshare so we can get that going. Perfect. Thanks, Kim. And now we're going to talk about how you can use surveys to measure student knowledge and gather information from your students. So maybe it's the beginning of the semester and you're looking to just gauge the level of understanding of a topic, or maybe there is a variety of questions that students have on an upcoming test test or assignment and you want to gauge some understanding, you can use a survey. Using something like a Microsoft form also is a great tool outside of Blackboard, and you can embed that into the system. But using a tool like a survey, like Blackboard surveys, it's already built in here. Very, very, very similar to creating a test. It's almost the exact same process. So I will walk through that quickly. And then at the end, we're going to show how to view those statistics. So I have preset up a survey with a student response already submitted, so I can show you exactly what that looks like in the Grade Center. So I am going to go ahead and again share my screen here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go to my assignments and tests area. You can create a survey in any content area. So as long as you have these 4 options along the top, which is your build content, your assessments, tools, and partner content, this is where you're able to then build that survey. So just keep in mind, you can maybe make it its own content area and create a survey area. You can put it under weekly learn, you can put it under course information. Again, as long as you can build content, you can build that survey. So what we're going to do is we're going to hover over that assessments tab, and right between assignment and tests, which you're going to be using a lot, I'm sure, the survey option would be presented. When we click on that survey option, it's going to ask us to create a new one if we don't already have an existing survey to deploy. When we click create, again, you might say this looks exactly like a test. And you know what? It is. It's the exact same process as creating a test. Obviously, the information that we're looking to gather is going to be different, and it's not necessarily going to be 4 marks. Here you do have your description, your instructions. Should you require them, you could enter that on in. And once we do that, it's going to take us to our survey canvas. And this is where you're going to be presented with a different type of survey questions that you can ask your students. Again, exactly the same options as a test. So in this scenario, let's just do a true or false question, just to keep it easy here. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to see our question text box open on up. So why don't we say, because it's Friday today, do you enjoy the weekend? I know I do. And then we're just going to click submit. Once we click submit, we see, do you enjoy the weekend? But again, there isn't a correct or incorrect answer for this because it is an opinion. So just keep that in mind when you are creating that survey question. Now, if you wanted to, you could create more. In this scenario, I'm only going to create 1 question. But again, you can do anything from an essay question where you're asking your students a question and they're going to type in that response. Maybe it's a short answer. Maybe it is multiple choice. Whatever that might be, you can use those options for creating your survey. You can also find questions, meaning pulling questions from previous surveys that you've asked if you created those. So you can merge surveys together by picking and choosing different pieces of those. So keep that in mind as well. Once we click OK and we're OK with our survey, we're going to be brought back to that same page where it's asking us to now deploy that survey. It doesn't necessarily mean the survey is going to be available right away, but what we can do is set those dates and availability. So when we click on our survey that we want to move forward and deploy, we'll just highlight it to make sure it's blue and then click submit in the bottom right-hand corner. Once we do that, just like a test, it's going to bring us into our survey options. And we're then able to go through our variety of options here. I'm not going to spend time on each individual one because they would be very specific to your individual survey and your needs. But just so you're aware, you can make the the survey available by clicking yes or no. You can add a new announcement around it. You can turn on a timer, which might not be something that's used often for a survey, but the option is there should it be required. You can do display after and display until, so those availability dates that it will open automatically. You can also associate a due date, which again might not be something that you're looking to do because it's not a test. These options are reflective, almost identical to a test. And then the survey presentation, which again, not like it's a test, so it might not be so specific that you're worried about prohibiting backtracking in one at a time. But again, maybe you have a lot of questions and you want your students to focus, or you're really looking to gather important information. So there's lots of different options within here that you can review. Once you click submit, and you scroll on down to whatever content area we chose, assignments and tests, your survey is now shown at the bottom. We can see that that survey is currently unavailable because we have not set it to be available. So that's how you would make that survey. Now, what I've also done is I've gone ahead and created a test one survey. So this is just again, just a test of a survey. Doesn't mean it's associated with a physical test itself. And what I've done is a colleague of mine, Kate, who's enrolled here as a student, has gone in and has completed that survey. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Grade Center and see what happens once your students complete that survey, because that's definitely a question we get a lot, because honestly, it's not the most intuitive area to find those results. You'd think, I would think at least, that you'd click on the survey itself, whatever one you're talking about, and you would see those results. Well, unfortunately, you do have to go to the Grade Center. Once you go to the Grade Center, just like any assignment or test, it will create a column for you. So that survey one that we just created together, you can see that we have our survey there, but there's been no response. Now, this is the test, or sorry, the survey I created earlier on. And in this case, we can see that little green check mark there, and that means that our student has completed it. Again, it's set up as a check mark because there is no grading associated with a survey. So what we're going to do is you could view the individual attempt, meaning you could view what that individual said, but it is actually only going to give specific information because these survey results are they are sometimes confidential. So just keep that in mind. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the test survey one and click on down to here where we see column statistics. And what that's going to do is that's going to be able to pull the different statistics within that column so we can see how many students have completed the survey. Now, you might say, well, I want to know, I want to know really the details of each individual response. This is where we're going to click attempts statistics. And when we do that, it's going to bring up every single question that has been answered and the percentage of individuals in your course who have answered. So it's not going to say Kate answered this as true. It's just going to say that, for instance, we only have one student enrolled in this course. So this is not a great example, but if you had 10, 15, 20 students, you might see that 60% answered true and 40% answered false, or some did not answer. So just keep in mind that you're not going to see exact names. You are just going to see percentages associated with each question. So that really is how the statistics are viewed. You can look also, if you did that drop down here, there are a couple other different areas you can sort the survey results by ascending and descending by name wise. But again, your best bet when you are looking at those results is that attempt statistics. That's going to be your best. You can also download it as well, which would download as a CSV file in an Excel format. And you can then view those that way if you wish. So that's really a quick overview of creating a survey as quick as we can, and also viewing those statistics. So I'll pass it back over to Kim.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, Matt. So this is a great example again of how you could use tools in Blackboard to get information from your students. So you could be asking about, how are you finding the layout of the weeks? Are you having any difficulty submitting assignments? Is there anything that you'd like to see in the course that you're not currently seeing? So it's another great way to have more points of contact and to just show your students again that you're here to support them and that you care about their learning experience and their success in the course. So that pretty much wraps up our 3 and 30 on being visible and Deskside Manner and Culture in your classes. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Matt or myself, or check out the CTEL website for more resources. And thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks again.